been like in the last year?
Well, it's um, part of it has been wrestling with death and disease. And on March 1st, before the pandemic shutdown started, I worked for this organization called Music of Remembrance. And we had been able to bring a string quartet of instruments that were played by Jews during the Holocaust to Seattle to play at Benaroya Hall. And the program was all composers murdered in the Holocaust. And it was a powerful, life-affirming, moving concert. And I was feeling very positive about how music can lift people up, even in the hardest of times. These violins saved the lives of their owners. And we had been hearing about the virus, and so we wanted to go down and visit our son, Ruben, who was down in Southern California in undergraduate school. So my wife and I, Doris, we went down for a week to visit with him and hang out. And we started hearing stories about, well, things are shutting down, the virus is starting to dominate the lives of everyone on the globe. And so we came home kind of concerned about flying, but we made it home, and then everything went into shutdown, as everyone knows. And I was concerned that this little arts organization that I work for, Music of Remembrance, maybe we wouldn't be able to continue with Benaroya Hall closed and artists not being, symphony musicians were all furloughed. And the artistic director, Minna Miller, who's the founder, she kind of took it as a challenge. And we wound up programming a season that had even more concerts than pre-pandemic. And we were able to find a safe place, and all the musicians got tested, and we recorded 4 concerts of new programs, and we presented them online. And so this pandemic, which I thought was going to be maybe pretty lonely and not busy, boring, I was working more than I ever had, and learning things, how to become a TV studio, like Steve has done here. And so I was once again reminded about how powerful music can be when in troubling times. And I saw the impact that music had on the artists and the audiences. The clarinetist from the Seattle Symphony said when the pandemic hit, she just put her instrument down. She just wasn't going to play for a while. I had been getting together once a week with local musicians and jamming, and that ended. And so a lot of musical activity stopped, but some music activity kept going and keeping people engaged and uplifted by music. And simultaneously, this past year, one of my mentors was having a challenging time. He's in his 80s, and he fell at home and fractured his neck. He was hospitalized. And so I had to help him transition to a nursing home. And so the disease and mortality that represented kind of struck home with me. And we had to clean out his house because it wouldn't fit in the nursing home where he went, all his material things. And so going through his collection of CDs and records, he's a composer. And it was really a challenge to see a musician's life work kind of treated as dust or clutter. And it really brought me down. I started thinking of my own collection, my own music, and how maybe it doesn't have any value to it. And it's just stuff that needs to be carted up and stored or thrown away or donated or something. And so I really, that was the dark part of the pandemic for me. And during that time, my son down in Southern California, the wildfires were raging. They were getting close to him in Pasadena, and he still had to finish the term in the summer. And it was a really challenging time. He finally came home after the term, and we started listening to music together. And we had set up a room to be kind of like a jazz club we had been to in Kyoto the year before, and where you just bathe in the sound of music. And, you know, it made me start to think that this virus is ephemeral, invisible. We can't really see it with our naked eye, but it's changing our lives. It's changing how we feel about ourselves, about other people, about life, and in a kind of a negative way. And here it was, sound, music, paying attention to music was also ephemeral. We're just changing the atoms in the room, and we're hearing them, but it's making me feel better and think positive thoughts. And so my son and I, from the mid-pandemic on, we've been going crate digging in record stores and really upgrading my sound system so it sounds really good and it's really fun. And this collection that I had, like my mentor, of 2,000 records and CDs was in the basement, kind of untouched, and I had been thinking of it as this burden for me and for anyone who might be having to deal with my passing. And now it's all new again. And I can't wait to put on a record and listen and be transported and uplifted by this ephemeral sound. And it's getting me interested again in, oh, hey, I have an idea. I need to get my instrument out and start making some sounds in relation to these sounds that are around me. And so it's been a long trip, but I think the pandemic allowed for that arc, for that reevaluation, revaluing, finding how music is vital to how I feel and how I want to live. And so that's kind of been the lesson that I'm starting to come to terms with, is that there's disease and death all around us. My wife works at a healthcare facility, and some of her patients have passed because of COVID. Some of her colleagues have fallen ill. And yet I see this positive power of music to, even in times of harrowing death, that music can still uplift. Thanks, Steve.